to Incredibly Ordinary.
All right.
What do we got here? Coffee.
So, Josh, you go ahead and tell us what we're having for coffee tonight.
Yeah, so
Matter of fact, we've got some of this at home in our little. We're making Pike Place. My wife says, "Hey, we've got some Pike's Peak." I go, "Pike's Peak."
Pike's Peak, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I meant Pike's Place.
You know,
Well, it's decaf. I've never understood the reason you drink coffee and have a decaf.
It's just dirty water at that point.
Yeah, well, that's what we're having. It's dirty water tonight.
Well,
Yeah, here we go.
here in the war room, huh?
so Pete, that's interesting though that your mind defaults to thinking about it as Pike's Peak. I worked at Starbucks in Colorado Springs.
Oh, did you?
And people would come and order because when they came out with Pike's Place, people would always like, I'll take a grande Pike's Place or Pike's Peak, and you'd always be like, you mean Pike's Place? Because of course in the
right there.
background
You can
Pike's
see the
Peak is
mountain.
right there. Yeah. So
Josh, you want to introduce who we have here tonight?
yeah, so we've got Pete and his son Justin, and we're going over reflecting on the history of the Georgetown Santas.
Yeah.
And so excited to have you guys with us.
Oh, appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Appreciate.
Yeah, we
So
just want to
invite us
hear
over.
whatever, stories. I was looking on your guys' website, 1999.
Yep,
Wow.
that's right.
That is, I think back to anything that I see with the 90s on it, I'm like, that's some time.
That's old.
Unfortunately, that's
right.
become vintage.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So how'd the idea come about? Where'd this come from?
Actually, wasn't it Jack Schmiedler that started in '99? Mm-hmm. I think Jack just went out and was standing on the curb one day, and these cars were going by, and so he decided, did he hand out candy right off the bat?
He had leftover Halloween candy, as I recall.
Nice.
And wanted to get rid of it, and so he got himself a Santa suit. Went to the end of the driveway, and anybody that came by, he just, hey, here's some candy. Merry Christmas.
The neighbors looking out there like, what is this guy doing?
Well, funny you mention that because Paul McDaniel, the neighbor right across the street, was looking at him and saying, "What are you doing?" And also, that looks like a lot of fun. I want to jump in and do that too. So he went and got a suit a couple nights later and started, joining in, covering the other side of the street. So that's
that's
cool. How it started.
So you don't just go to the local store, do you, and buy a Santa suit? Or where do you get a Santa suit today?
The first one we got at Walmart. I think,
Oh, really?
something like that. We bought a couple of. I bought a couple of them online since, some
Yeah.
nicer ones, And we've got some Santas that. Well, Mel Augustine was one Santa. He came one time and joined up in about 2002, I think, and he had this flat beard. I mean, it wasn't fluffy, and it was just we made fun of him.
That hurts, man.
Yeah, it did. But he came through, and he's still with us.
So how many guys participate in the process? I shouldn't just say guys. I'm sure your families are very much involved in.
That's a big number.
Yeah, I bet.
As far as number of Santas, there's 9 Santas out there, and then we have running 4 popcorn machines. So you got what we just referred to as the elves popping the popcorn, and then plenty of help. The runners, the elves, with the Santas handing out the popcorn and the candy on the streets. So that, coupled with all of the wives, the grandkids over the years, there's a lot of people helping out.
And people that just come in for the holidays, relatives and so, and they'll come out and kind of get in the mood. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a great time.
Yeah, it makes me think of a Hallmark movie. Everyone, everything's always Christmas and it's perfect, and the whole town's involved, and it's like,
Right.
all right, that's
It's
pretty
surreal
cool.
because it does get a little bit like that
Does
at
it?
times, especially when you get a good snow coming down in the middle of it
Yeah.
all. So.
That is outstanding. We had
That's
a
pretty cool.
blizzard, and I lose track of time. It must have been about 2000.
Pete, I might have you lean in a little bit to
Okay.
your mic there, just so I
About-
want you. I want to hear your story.
Okay, about 2008 or 9, wasn't it, Justin?
2009. Yeah.
And it was just snowing cats and dogs out there. We thought, there's nobody going to show up for this. Nobody. And we thought, well, let's go ahead and go. And I think we had about 800 that night.
Holy cow!
But we had one elf. All he did all night was shovel the driveway where we'd run in and out. He just kept scooping. Larry Thompson, great guy.
my
He helps a
goodness.
lot. And we put another, I think, 10 by 10 tent just so the Santas could kind of get under it once in a while because it was just snowing like crazy. And what was so much fun for me, because I'm always looking for a little something to do, every once in a while Santa would be standing outside under the eave of that tent, and I'd
Oh,
bump
no.
it with a bump it, and it just get covered. And that was my highlight. I had a lot of fun. But it did snow a lot. That day or that evening, when I went home that night, I didn't realize how much it snowed. It was up to my knees in my driveway.
Wow.
So but that was a great. I think there's a lot of those pictures on the website in there, Justin.
That's
of
cool.
that. Yeah.
So you guys run this. What days do you run this before Christmas?
December 21st through the 23rd. We do 6:30 to 9 each night.
We used to do the 24th up to about, there again, I lose track of time, about 3 years ago, Justin, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the 24th is pretty important for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when we started got a couple grandkids now,
Yeah.
and other people, family were coming, and people wanted to do their thing on
Your
Christmas.
kids come in from out of town. You need some time with them. And
Right. And, boy, we kind of really thought about that because, you think about it, a lot of people are out. If they go to a service or they're getting ready to open their gifts, well, they want to go, got to get in the mood. They go, let's go see the Georgetown Santas first,
Yeah.
and they do. And but anyway, so we elected to do that, and that's what.
So you're probably still seeing the traffic on those 3 nights before that.
Oh yeah.
It's a little more concentrated than it was
Yeah.
in previous years.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we can look out our window Christmas Eve, and they're still coming by. Where are they?
Start honking.
Even though
I'm here.
even though we do put up a sign and light it up, and I'll put it out here in a week or so before. Gives the date, the time we start right
That's
out there,
cool.
so
Yeah.
everybody knows. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where eventually, I mean, if this continues into the future, you're going to have kids that grew up going. They're coming back with their kids, and it's just. I was reading on the website, and actually, I'll just put it like this: ask you the question, why do you guys do this?
There
There was a word that stuck out from your website, I don't know, and I was like, that's just really cool.
I
But
wrote that a while ago. I don't remember what that word would be. It's really just seeing the wonder in the kids faces when they roll up, and not just like the 5-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, the folks that are coming by from in the buses for the retirement homes. Just to see the awe on their faces and the smiles that they're so much. There's so much joy that it reminds them.
that was the word. by
Was
the
that
way.
the word?
Yeah, that was
Hey,
the
there,
word.
there you go.
Yeah.
Just
Because
so
it was just so simple. It just said, why do this? And then it was like kind of a period, because of the joy that you get to see on people's faces.
exactly. Yeah, and
it really is.
just the fact that I think Santa Jack put it best, several years ago that, it's kind of about reminding them of, their good old days and, kind of taking them back to a Christmas forgotten or Christmas, long ago, and they can kind of reconnect with that and on some level. So
Awesome.
In those years, we've had a lot of kids that brought their Christmas want list for Santa,
Oh, wow.
and they've made it out in their names. I wish we could have got their last name, but they put it on there, and we've taken those rather than just discard them and staple them up in the shack. We've got them in there on the walls. And
That is
and I
cool.
was thinking about that the other day. Some of these kids got to be almost 30 now.
Sure.
And it'd be, you think about it.
That's cool.
They do. They've got to be almost 30.
Having their own kids and bringing them back.
Yep.
yep.
So
Well, and one of the interesting stories here too about kind of that almost generational transfer is pretty early on. I would say it was within the first 5 or 6 years that we did this. Santa Paul, got a hold of I think it was like a surplus of toy stuffed animals, toy bears, and we gave them out to families, and that it's like okay, I mean. Certain, sometimes a car rolls up and you can tell it's like, okay, maybe these folks probably they might not have much. So
Yeah.
we gave those stuffed toys out to those kids and said, all right, he's your responsibility, take care of it, but when you're done, bring him back for the next kid. And it was probably, I think, about 10 years went by when we saw a couple of those actually come
Really?
back, and that was pretty neat.
That's cool. Well, I just, you think all the memories you create, not only for your families, but the families who come through there every year. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Lance was mentioning some of these. ideal moments, which are usually what the Christmas movies are trying to capture, right? And it does, when we get past our cynicism and our skepticism that's so prevalent in our culture. I mean, every time you turn on the news or the radio, it's dark, and then you have this part of us that all longs for something that's more, and everybody can resonate with Christmas, even if they, it's like being a young parent, and we've come through the line so many times, and even as the kids get older, it's like you can infuse inside of them this hope that there's just, hey, this time of year we are agreeing that as much as there's all this other stuff going on, there's the fun things, that there's a group of people that have come together to make a fun time, that joy. And it's like, it's just, I don't know, on one hand it becomes, although it is what it is, it becomes real, and it's a lot of fun.
I know myself here, about 3-4 years ago, before I had the first grandson around 4 years ago, I thought, man, we've been doing this for a long time. I'm ready to, and then here he comes. I go, no, we're going to keep on doing this, and we got to go. And
Well, that changes everything, doesn't it?
yeah, and there is a lot of preparation to it. We got the shacks, and we actually got 2. We'll talk about that, but we've got those out there, and I spent all day today just moving stuff in my shed out of the way so I can get them here in another about 3 weeks.
So tell us what you have to do to get set up for this event.
So traditionally, it's about the Sunday before the event that we'll go out and put together wreaths.
You better back up, getting the
Okay, I'll back up.
back up to the popcorn and the,
I'll back.
Yeah, get to the supplies.
Okay,
and all that.
we'll back up a little bit. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we've done that
let's start
already.
with the procurement of the supplies, and that starts with the popcorn and the candy. The candy, Dylan's has been an excellent partner here in town, and just being able to follow up with them after Halloween and say, hey, it's like, what do you guys got left? Let's do some business, and getting a lot of candy that way. And then as for the popcorn, it used to be we were able to get a hold of that locally, and we started to get it needed in such volume that it became more practical to buy it online. And so we've got a handful of different sources that we get that from, but we're talking about in 3 days, mind you. This year I ordered 385 pounds of popcorn, 10 gallons of butter, and about 7,000 popcorn sacks.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
and we'll use it all.
That's amazing. Well, and that was on the website as well. And I keep referencing that because I was trying to find some, questions and data. But the idea that there's thousands that are coming through this, that's incredible. To get anybody to show up for anything is like,
Yeah.
And like you said, even in a downpour of snow, it's like, get your coat on. We're going to the Georgetown Santas,
And that's what's so baffling about it is, on the one hand, it's like, okay, yeah, there's some joy, there's some magic to it in that respect. But on the other hand, I'm trying to think of myself as on the other end of this. I'm not waiting in line that long because the lines do get really long.
right?
And I gotta say, it amazes me that people are great with that. It's always, roll up after waiting for 20 minutes in line. At times we've heard, we've had traffic backed up a mile before. And, people are just so gracious that, they're there and they're ready just to like, hey, it's like, this is great. We're here.
So are the rest of the neighbors as gracious? Is it kind of one of those things where if you move to Georgetown, you need to go buy a Santa suit because you're gonna be joining the the tradition, or is it because maybe people can't get out of back out of their driveway, or maybe don't name names.
we go down and we ask people if they want to help, and we've got a new neighbor that's come in about a year ago, and he's going to help this year.
Awesome.
And I've also I think we're going to have the first Grinch this year.
Oh, that's great.
I retired from my job, and my replacement, I told him about the Georgetown Santas, and he went out and got a Grinch outfit. And matter of fact, he was in the Salina parade here the other day, and I stuck around to see him. Yeah, that looks pretty good. But I thought, gosh, a Grinch, Santa's. And he says, everybody loves a Grinch, so he's going to be there.
That's
good.
good.
I said, go ahead and come on, you'll be okay.
Yeah, that would be great. Kids will love that.
All that being said, the residents on Georgetown have been, again, tremendously gracious. We've never heard any complaints. It's been within their right. If they wanted to call the police, they probably could. But at the very least, they've all learned on the 21st through the 23rd of December, you better back in your driveway if you want to get out during that time. So they've been pretty gracious with that.
But back to why we do it again, and Justin hit it on the head there, because see the joy in the kids' faces. But we have a lot of retirement homes that come through. They bring those people through there, and then we get up in there, and boy, they're just happy to see that. And then there's limousines that come through. There's 2 or 3.
Oh, right, sure.
And then there's party buses that show up, and we got to go in there and see those people. But the different kids is what I'm always saying. There's some kids that are so shy, and you can tell who those are. Boy, you stick a piece of candy in the window, and they pull back. And then there's some kids that are hanging out the car door. They want.
That would have been Lance as a kid.
Yeah, they're hanging out the car door. And of course, some of my nieces and nephews and their little, when they come by, they go out there and they want to grab my beard and pull it down and see if that's really a Santa. You got to be careful there. So.
Right? That's awesome. So you said 10 pounds of butter?
10 gallons.
10 gallons. Okay. And you do all the popcorn with 4 poppers?
Yeah. We've got one that we got a hold of probably about a dozen years ago now, and it was it's truly. I was joking earlier. 90s is kind of almost getting vintage. This is like vintage. This is like post World War II. This is like late 40s.
I think
Manly popcorn popper.
It's one of those big ones.
It's designed for a 300-seat theater. That's what the sticky note said on it when we got it anyway. So, but yeah, we've got that, and then 3 other commercial poppers. We bought one a few years ago, and then we also get some donated or at least at a discount through True Value typically as well.
So you mentioned that you get some of the candy from Dillon's donated, or you get a special price. This is not a cheap thing to put on every year.
No, it isn't.
It was very expensive.
Do
this
you
year,
guys
especially, things have gone up a lot.
Get donations? How do you cover some of this cost?
Yeah, the funny thing is that it's primarily been driven through donations. The seed money was put in, years ago, but ever since probably about that 5th or 6th year, just folks, coming through and giving $1 or $2 here or there, that's pretty much carried us. And so it pretty much kind of sets us up for, like, okay, now we know how much we can get, what our budget is for next year.
Gotcha.
That's definitely changed a little bit, especially with inflation being what it is this year. Sure. And we find ourselves kind of for the first time in our what'll be now 24-year history kind of struggling. It's like, okay, I think we're good this year, but I kind of wonder about next year a little bit.
So let's make sure the fundraising's fairly strong on the drive-through this year.
Yeah, definitely. And we accept, free will donations. We've got on our website a link to PayPal as well. At Georgetown Santa's is
neat.
Another way.
So
to
people
donate,
kind of just, as they're getting their popcorn and getting their candy, they can hand you a $5 or $100 bill, right?
That'd be great. Yeah, usually have 1s, 5s, 20s.
Big range.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But when we go back to the beginning, it's like everything else that normally grows. We foot the bill. We footed the bill quite a bit, but as things got bigger and going, and more people came, and we started with candy, then we went to the popcorn, and of course everything increased in price, and so it got it got pretty wild. So it takes quite a bit to get it, and we try to get that candy on discount after Halloween, because it helps a lot get some of that. So, but without the donations, it'd be rough to do. As we were talking about it, and then going back to the three nights instead of 4. Well, you look at that. We lost it.
You lose the night of donations.
We lost the night of donations,
Yeah.
which was
but
25%.
You're making it, or this year you said it's going to be a little tighter.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this year we've pretty much run the pot dry, actually.
Yeah,
yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
probably like 11% or more.
Definitely
Yeah.
so. I mean, I got all the popcorn last year, and I think it was about $600 worth of popcorn. Yeah, but by the time you get the kernels, butter, the salt, bags, about $600. It was like right around $1,000 this year.
And that's not counting the
definitely
electricity
shot up.
that you've got to have. And
No, we run generators.
Generators?
Too, and we buy gasoline for those because we don't have enough power to run out of the house.
I was wondering
Yeah,
we've got
extension
a couple.
cords running all over the neighborhood.
Yeah, we tried that. Those first few years, we kept popping breakers. So
Go to the house, the guy just moved in. Oh, by the way.
So we've got
Done
a
that.
couple pretty nice, and some of the guys donate that too to help us out. A couple pretty nice, real quiet Honda generators.
Oh, yeah,
that
those-
we fire up. And
those
they
are
just
nice.
sit back there and hum and take care of it.
But it's such a stark contrast now versus what it used to be, in the sense that it was probably about the time we started doing popcorn, which was 2002, 2003. We would construct a tent just out of PVC and a tarp, and put a table in there, popcorn, run a cord from the house, and go. And then let's add a propane heater so it's at least somewhat tolerable, because it kind of gets cold in there. And we did that for several years. And then it was about 2007. It was 2007. We were in his driveway, putting that tent together. And I was just like, I've had enough of this. and so we started talking about it that pretty much all that winter. And then in January of 2008, we started building a mobile building out of native cedar logs that we could transport in. And you got everything. It's all wired up. All you got to do is plug into it. You got outlets ready to go. You got workbenches. You got everything you need to, lights on it, everything you need to get going. And that's helped tremendously in being able to handle the volume now. I can't imagine trying to do it with a tent anymore.
And what was fun, what I enjoyed about it, Justin and I, we kept it secret from the other Santas. Because back in the day when we first started this thing, I think we had a grill out there smoking, and we got all smoked up. It's just got to be a better way. So I made this PVC frame with I think it was a Kevlar cover, and we build that thing and we put it together. I think for like 3-4 years, and after we got that done, which was pretty nice, and then we thought, well, I got this sawmill. I found a guy that had all these trees that he's going to build on his house. He wanted to get rid of them, so let's make a Santa shack. And Justin designed it. We put it together, kind of secretly. Got all our Santas out there, and they go, "Wow, this is cool."
I gotta admit, when I first saw the shack, I'm like, "No, these guys are serious."
It was fun to build. It was fun to
It
build.
was a blast to build. I distinctly remember that first night that we started. It was roughly the third week of January of 2008, and we started out like not too long after Christmas, because it's like, this is going to take a little while, and it was freezing cold. We're out there in his building outside of town, just starting to frame up that first wall, and it was cold. But I mean, throughout that entire year, it was fun building that.
That'd be neat to see that come together.
Justin, how old are you?
40.
40.
Yep.
Okay, so in '99, you would have been.
I would have been a senior in high school
Yeah.
in '99.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're like, I'm gonna help with this, and
Yeah.
you've just been a major part ever since.
I didn't actually probably start until about 2000. It was about the time the popcorn started.
Okay.
Somebody, I was probably Jack, got the wise idea, say, hey, we need popcorn. And, nobody thought about who's going to actually do the pop.
Yeah, because you don't live on Georgetown, right?
Not
Okay.
anymore.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
not anymore.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were like, I got to buy a house over here.
No. I thought about it, but the pressure was there. But no, no.
As far as those shacks go, we had the one shack on one side of the street, and then we got more Santas, a lot of traffic. People started coming from the other way, and we encourage people to come in from the
Crawford.
from the north.
Well,
Oh,
go past Georgetown on Crawford, a little further east to Sides Drive, and then
Okay.
come back around. The line's usually shorter that way, and
And they can see everything just as well.
we've tried to promote that for years, and it was finally about 2015 or so, we started to see and realize more of that traffic on the other side of the street. And we had a pop-up tent over there for years. It's like, we need a few more
It's
poppers.
amazing the logistics to pull this off.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
We put a tent. We got my next door neighbor's great. He usually takes off and goes sees these kids in Houston or somewhere. So I got his driveway.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so, and it's pretty steep, but we put a tent in there. Boy, it was cold in that tent. And we were about 5 years ago, Thanksgiving dinner. We were sitting around at the dinner table, and Justin, I said, Justin, we need another shack for the other side of the street because we had so much traffic going back and forth, and it's kind of unsafe in a way. And one of the elves, he spends all of his time just directing traffic. He goes up and brings the cars down.
Wow.
And he stops them here. Then as we get those done, then we move another group through. But there's a lot of movement back and forth. So over that meal, we said, let's build another shack. So I've got another one that we threw together, which actually I've got a big old boom truck. It doesn't have its own wheels, and I set it on top of a car trailer. We bring it in and put it on the other side of the street every year.
That one's built out of like just reclaimed lumber from the barn.
So you store the shacks out there at the farm during the off season, huh?
Yeah, they're both out there.
Now, how big are these shacks?
Oh
Well,
gosh, the original 7x14. I think the new one's a little bit smaller because I found the car trailer.
Yeah, they're legal. You know, I was in the trucking. They are 8'6",
Legal.
8'6" and 13'6". When I built that shed out there, I make sure. Matter of fact, we've got to deflate the tires. just a little,
13.6.
the stack.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
Yeah, to get it out of the door, to get it out of the building through the past the garage door, you actually have to let a little bit of air out of the tires and stand on the tongue. And then, even then, you just barely kind of clip the panel of the skylight on the smokestack. So
I've got an old boom crane truck that I bought years ago that I used to pick up this, and I built it stout. It's got a spreader bar on the roof, so I can just pick it up and swing it and set it on the car trailer. Nice. And then we got another shack ready to go. Then we hook up. We've got wood stoves in both of them, so we can heat them up for everybody.
Yeah.
and that just helps. I mean, as nice as it is just to have that too, and that's why I mean I've actually tried donning the Santa suit and doing that, and I like the shack because it's warmer in there.
Yeah.
But as nice as it is, it actually there's an added benefit is it helps with the efficiency. The popcorn poppers, the kettles recycle a little faster just because they're not getting so cold.
They're warming, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean these little box stoves are overkill in these things, no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, just for the heck of it, it was probably about 5 years ago, maybe a little more. The other gentleman that was helping pop popcorn with me in the shack, we were prepping your hours ahead of time, kind of getting ready and kicking that off, and we're just like, let's see how hot it can get in here. We lost. We finally gave up and opened the door. We had a dial thermometer on the wall. We gave up at 116. It's like, we got to open the door.
Wow.
And it was probably 20 degrees outside when we did that. So it's like, we can get it as hot as we want in there.
Yeah.
It's usually 75 to 80 with the door open all the time. So
Man.
it's nice in there.
Yep.
Wow.
That's doing it right. So a lot of history behind this. What do you especially now you have a 4-year-old?
I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
And a 1-year-old. Yeah. That's life right there.
Yep.
So that's the third generation coming up. They're seeing all this happening.
Yeah.
And what a motivation to keep pushing.
Yeah, definitely. My oldest Harrison, he has looked forward to it so much. He was even asking me just before I left home. It's like, hey, you're not moving the Santa Shacks without me. So, and he got the opportunity. He finally got big enough last year that he got the opportunity to bag a little bit of popcorn. He did pretty well.
Good for him.
So yeah, he's
cool.
Getting into it.
That's really cool. Now, do you guys need volunteers as well, or is it kind of what's your thought with if people wanted to help?
We never turned
Maybe
down.
they need to be screened or something.
No, no, we never turned down volunteers. If people want to come help, that's great. I mean, if anything would help somebody get in the spirit of Christmas and want to come for an hour or just a little bit, that's fine. We've got some great Santas. We've got right now that have been doing that for quite a while, and so if anybody would want to help, sure, they can just give us a call or stop by and say, hey, I'd like to help. Sure.
Yeah, and what was the website? The website is
GeorgetownSantas.com.
Salina.com.
And there's also, you said, the ability to make contributions there.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we do have PayPal donations, so it's at GeorgetownSantas.com, but you can get to it through the website.
Okay, good.
I'm curious, during COVID, did that mess you guys up at all?
It did. It was, I mean, we held off on deciding about that as long as we could, but it was probably early September of 2020. We're just like, we're not ready to do this, just in the sense that, I mean, the head, just on a normal year, head colds, all that kind of stuff. I mean, these guys are interacting with, kids and families all the time.
So you guys took a pause in 2020.
We did. Yeah, we ended up deciding.
So the beard wasn't
sit it
enough cover for you, huh?
Beard mask.
We explored all sorts of different ways. White beards under the white, white masks under the white beards. We talked about pool skimmers. Like, let's give the candy and the popcorn. Just dump it in the car. And we looked at all the possibilities. Like, there's nothing that Christmassy about a pool skimmer. So it's like, let's just.
Mama, what's wrong with Santa?
Yeah, exactly. Why does Santa want to stay away from me?
I try to be pretty careful too, because we got white gloves on stuff, but if you're constantly handing out candy to kids, if you get in there close to them, lots of kids, they've got cool stuff. And, and I've gotten, terrible head colds through the years. Not every year, but every once in a while. And it's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
Up your vitamin C beforehand, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
But what we did, the Santa shacks are out there in my barn, in my shed. So since we weren't going to do that, I went ahead and hung lights and decorated in the barn so our immediate family could at least go out.
Sweet.
And I put up a swing for my grandson so he could swing through the lights. And it's still up out there.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Wow.
We may do. It was for 2020 and suspending the activity for it. It was both. It was very hard in the sense that it's like, okay, it's the 21st, 22nd.
Of course, everything in 2020 was hard.
Yeah, it's like
right?
I feel like it's like, gosh, I really feel like we should be doing it right now. But at the other time, the rest of the time, I would say it was also a welcome break in some regards too.
Yeah.
Just because it does. I mean, you think it's like, dude, what's wrong with you? It's only 3 or 4 days a year. But that's around the busiest time for everyone ever.
Yeah. Well, because your family has to make sacrifices. To bless everybody else. And now you guys did 2021, correct?
Yes, we did.
So I bet did you see any everybody? Did you get some comments? People are excited that you're back. That it wasn't COVID didn't kill it.
I think so. I mean, the reaction was. The reaction
everybody
was
wanted
positive.
to come out of their house after 2020.
Everybody's ready to go. So
we just thought about 2020, just standing back in the yard and going like that. We didn't do that either. So we just thought, let's just cool it.
Well, the fact that your families are so involved, and what a sacrifice Josh was saying, like for your spouses, that's a lot of giving during that time when.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, especially when that's family time. In some respects, lost out on. For me, popping the popcorn. If I'm not starting the event starts at 6:30. If I'm not there, getting stoves lit up, getting the popcorn popper going by about 2 p.m. those days, forget about it. We're behind. And so my wife Lindsay has been fantastic about that, just because it's, it is a sacrifice, and it's time away from family, it's time away from her, it's time away from the kids, but it's also like you said, it is a wonderful blessing to be able to do this for the community.
A 4 and 1 year old, they're going to see dad out there. They're going to want to be right in the middle of that.
Well, that's what that's what I hope for too. Without
a doubt. Yeah, grandpa's out there, and that's
create some real memories.
Without a doubt.
What great stories for later. When they're looking back going, do you remember when we used to do that? Those are some of the most important, cherished memories that you have, which is, again, not just a blessing towards everybody else, but also towards your family, if you have that perspective.
Yeah, and it's truly been, an amazing experience. And just to think about, Dad mentioned, the knee-deep snow earlier and all that. And we've probably experienced that 2 or 3 times. The very first time we experienced it, I recall, was it was actually in 2009, and there wasn't much accumulation, but it was just a wicked blizzard on Christmas Eve, just a lot of blowing snow, and I remember that afternoon, it was kind of starting to move in. The wind was picking up. It was just starting, you were just starting to see a few flurries. And it was easy for me to say. I was out there, kind of, 1, 2 in the afternoon. I was getting the fires all, stoked up and everything, and getting the poppers running. And Jack comes out, Santa Jack, and just says, like, are we doing this tonight? And I just looked at him as casually as can be, just go, yeah. It was easy for me to say. I was sitting inside.
You're in the warm.
But I tell you, that
What's your problem?
that night was probably, that one's in the top 3 all time. That was so much fun. And anytime we've had a big snow like that, that's when it's the most fun, honestly.
It's a lot
Really?
of fun. Oh, yeah, I really do. Matter of fact, if it's not under 35 degrees, I'm getting hot.
Oh, yeah.
I like it colder the better. Yeah, it's really good. So
It's such a cool thing. I think, what is Salina? About 50,000 people. And the fact that there's still a lot of people that might not even know that you're doing it. Of course.
Oh, sure. There's plenty of folks.
But for all of, thousands, you're
7,000
investing.
popcorn bags.
That's
Yeah.
We would go trick or treat at Halloween on Austin Circle, and there was always a family that would pop popcorn, and we always knew, like, in the back of our mind, that was one of the most important parts of the night, was getting this bag of popcorn. My wife loves that popcorn, and so I think it's the same thing with with you guys. And of course, granted, the kids are getting excited about it, but here you are handing. Because I gotta admit, I love that popcorn too.
it's amazing. It's a little,
I could go buy popcorn, but it's not the same context. Right?
I know. Everybody's excited about getting a little bag of popcorn. It just amazes me. But they do. Well, they want,
Yeah.
Well, what's ridiculous is how much of a snob I've become, too, because as soon as I taste, like, the movie theater popcorn, it's like, I know what they did wrong.
Yeah, no.
I've got 10. Yeah, that's what you should put on the website. It's like decades of popcorn experience.
That's crazy to think it's decades now, because it is.
Put that on your resume.
I can pop one mean popcorn bag.
Yeah, that's right.
the day we bring in the shacks is kind of a fun day too for me, because we build a fresh wreath, at least one, and we build 2, don't we? We build 2. I've got a metal frame. I go out the farm. I've got all these evergreen trees. I cut fresh evergreen limbs. I usually get those all lined out, and then we bring them in, and there'll be some Santas that come out, and we make all those wreaths, and we'll mount them on the shacks, and that's kind of fun. And then as we go in, we got them on there ready to go, and we get them lit up and all that. So, well,
the friendship you've got to develop with all the guys you do that with, the Santas, and that makes a pretty cool neighborhood.
Yeah, definitely so. And there's stuff that's probably not appropriate for your podcast or your audience to talk about, but just the banter that goes on. We usually have a little, get together just afterwards each night, just to kind of unwind and relax and have some fun. There's all sorts of good stories there.
Dogging on each other.
It's just a good time, good group of guys, and
it's like any team sport. After the game or whatever, you're just hanging out, shooting the bull.
Exactly right,
and having fun for the night.
And we'll get
the whole thing.
Yeah,
and we'll get sometimes. We've gotten cozy, a couple sacks of cozy ends, so drop them off, or a pizza.
I bet you don't put that in the shacks because they wouldn't come out.
Or a plate of cookies or something, so we sit in there and we munch on that stuff, and we just visit for about 15, 20 minutes, and we all go home.
That's awesome.
Cool. Some of that hasn't happened in quite a while, but there was, I think it was maybe about one of the last years when we were still in the tent, before we actually built the shack. Within the course of about an hour and a half, we ended up with 12 hot chocolates from McDonald's, and there were probably only like 7 of us at the time. And they just kept coming. It was like 2 or 3 different times. Like, somebody's just messing with us, I think. It was funny though.
That's awesome.
And bogeys, we got several times. We got some bogey hamburgers and stuff. It's very cool.
So you start prepping on, what is that, December 21st? In for the actual event. Yeah. That's the first night of it.
Yeah, that's the first night of the event.
You're probably getting together around noon.
Actually, we try to bring the shacks in the Sunday before because some of us were working yet, and then we bring it in to get all ready to go. Typically,
so we'll get everything set up and tables and popcorn poppers all leveled at that time. Get it stocked up with all the supplies and everything, so we're ready to go. And then that first day is the easiest because it's like, let's walk in, light the fire, light the kettles, and let's go. The other nights do get increasingly difficult just because you're starting to just think about the supplies that you have. It's like, do we have enough? And then also, I pop fast, but I'm messy.
Someone's got to clean up.
So we got to clean up. Yeah, got to clean up
vacuum.
every night or every day. And
we go out there and clean up and vacuum every day, get it all cleaned back. We like to start clean.
Yeah.
So. And we got to get rid of the trash, and we got some stuff.
Just housekeeping stuff that we try to do. I mean, I definitely want to be safe, so that we're giving everybody a good experience.
When you think of how many years you've done this, is there any really crazy story that stands out in your mind? Or is there any, or maybe crazy, or one of the, maybe some other story of that?
What would be your favorite thing of doing all this? And if you were looking down the road and saying, man, I did this, I understand the word joy, but what would you say has been, for you each, the best part of doing all this?
For me personally, I think it's just, even from RC, we get a sense of the impact that this is having, at least on some section of the community.
Yeah,
and just to realize that it's like we're coming into like our 24th year that we'll be doing this fall, and who the heck would have ever thought that? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous to think it's like, okay, some dude just gonna stand on the end of his driveway and hand out candy, and it's turned into this. It's like we'll keep it going.
I'm sitting at this end of the table, and I feel the energy coming off you guys of saying, man, we're just having a ball doing this. We're a bunch of guys out here. We're goofballs, but we're just having a good time. Yeah. And that's what I get out of all this. And look at the impact it's having.
Yeah. We've got a couple Santas this year that won't be able to. They've had some health issues, and it's going to be, and we're pulling for those guys, but. And they'll be back next year, I'm sure.
Oh, that'd be hard missing out.
Yeah, and those guys have been there for they've been there 20 years. So.
Oh,
and they're really disappointed that they couldn't make it this year, but they'll be back next year.
Good.
I think it's just the joy for the little kids that I've seen over the years, and especially the retirement home.
Well,
people that come through.
That's what stuck out in my mind.
That is a really
this age spectrum that is it's reaching, and then the thought of, again, because we're all going to be at one point at that age, and to be able to reach back or to have an experience to go and be a part of something that resonates with your childhood, or just the idea of the good. You talk about a person going out into the driveway and just standing there handing out candy. That's the virtuous good, right? To create that and then to be able to offer that to all age groups is that's awesome.
And that
great time.
It is kind of just truly awe-inspiring, I guess, for lack of a better term. And that, I think it was coined a couple of years ago by a KSN affiliate, but he said it's like, this is like a Christmas lights drive-through experience. It's like, yep, that's perfect. That's what I've been looking for years to call it, because it is really. You've got the sights and sounds and the smells, everything. You've got the lights. You've got all the Santas and the elves just running around, and somehow in perfect harmony and coordination, just because everybody's done it long enough, they know what they're doing, and not to get run over by cars and all that kind of stuff.
It's like why you would go to watch a movie or go to a play or go to that Christmas Eve service at church. It's something where you're everybody's agreed, we're doing this, and it's not fake. This is just fun. This is just a great experience for you, for your family, to bless you. And there's a lot of work that went into it, and I think it's good. The world needs more Georgetown Santas.
One thing I checked into it last year and never did find one. I'd love to find. We've been lacking snow, and I've can't find a snowmaking machine, I'd like to just have it just in our little area snowing when they drive through.
Reach out to the what is that? The ski resorts and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bet,
They have to-
I bet those are cheap.
may have to. Just took some pictures. Lindsay, Justin's wife, she made some snow that she could buy and then mixed up, and it worked pretty well. We just got done making some pictures for
Took
the
some
little kids.
pictures of the boys.
We might have to get some of that stuff and spread around because it's still out there at the farmers.
Yeah, it doesn't melt. That's the nice thing about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
But no, I mean, yeah, you kind of, I mean, you know, round out that experience. I mean, you come through, you smell the cedar burning in the stove. You smell the, I mean,
yeah.
you can probably smell the popcorn butter even from inside the shacks. I know I do all week long, and it just never leaves my nose.
I'm always the driver. Try not to rear end the person. And
Yeah.
try to run over one.
And I mean, you talk about incredibly good fortune. I mean, I'm going to knock on the desk on purpose right now. We've been fortunate. I mean, we've never had or been aware of any kind of traffic accident or any
Good.
other accident associated with it. And given the amount of people, especially in the nights when it's been, you know,
Thousands
snow
of
packed,
people,
incredibly
yeah.
icy,
Right.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, and I think comes back to the patience and just how gracious everyone is in terms of,
Yep.
you know, it's like, okay, I mean, this is, you know, for the kids, whether the kids are young or old, and we're just going to, you know, take our time and enjoy it. And it's been wonderful.
Well, I think I'm going to go home tonight and have a bag of popcorn. So, yeah.
I typically don't, after this event's over, I'm typically good till about March.
Are you?
No popcorn.
That butter's still dripping out of your nose.
Pretty much,
You
yeah.
feel like you've done Christmas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And Justin has a really good selection of music that we play. It'll be playing too out there, so everybody
Nice.
can hear that as they come down.
You know, we try to, you know, again, for the, you know, age range, I mean, capture everything from the Chipmunks to Bing Crosby, and
That's
you
so
know,
cool.
get
Yeah.
everything in,
Get a little
there,
white
so.
Christmas in there, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool. Well, so we've got the website, georgetownsantas.com, and then we've got the ability to donate through PayPal on the website,
Or there as they come through.
or as they come through with
All
some
right.
cash, or you know, yeah,
Keep
so
it going.
well, we appreciate you guys coming out and just doing this.
This has been fun tonight.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're,
Podcast.
Thank
we're
you
going to
guys
get
so
this
much.
out right away.
And you know, it'd be fun as a follow-up podcast later, you know, to reflect on 2022's Christmas. Georgetown
After the
Santa.
butter's out of their senses. And,
That'd be terrific.
yeah, awesome.
Great.
Yeah, let us know how it goes.
Well,
All right.
Okay.
Hey, guys,
Justin,
thanks.
Thanks so much.
What a good
Thank
night.
you.
And
Merry
that's good.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Content here is for illustrative and educational purposes only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice. Nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Results will vary. Market conditions change continuously. Past performance is no guarantee of future results or success. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory products and services offered by investment advisory representatives through RFG Advisory, a registered investment advisor. RFG Advisory, Billings Group, and Private Client Services are unaffiliated entities.